The Jurassic period is probably the most famous dinosaur era among people, and that's mainly due to the Jurassic Park movie series. These films have made many people fall in love with dinosaurs, especially the star of all the movies, the T-Rex. However, the T-Rex didn't actually live during the Jurassic period. So forget everything you've seen in Jurassic Park, because we're about to explore the real Jurassic period. We'll discuss the Earth's ecosystem, take a closer look at the lives of different creatures, from dinosaurs and marine reptiles to early mammals, and dive deep into the tropical forest that covered the planet to see what the world looked like 200 million years ago. So, grab your favorite drink for entertainment, and if you love paleontology and extinct creatures, this channel is made for you. At the end of the Triassic period, a massive mass extinction event occurred, drastically affecting Earth's ecosystem. This event marked the boundary between the Triassic and Jurassic periods, wiping out many marine and terrestrial species. It was a tragic end for the first age of dinosaurs and a rough beginning for the Jurassic period. This was one of the 5 most severe mass extinctions in Earth's history, and its causes remain uncertain to this day. It could have been due to gradual climate change, oxygen depletion, or global warming. One of the leading theories is that this extinction followed the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea, which had many consequences. The Triassic-Jurassic Extinction event is a complex topic that deserves its own video, so for now, let's focus on the Jurassic period. The Jurassic period is the second era of the Mesozoic. The early Jurassic began after the end of the Triassic, around 200 million years ago, and lasted until the beginning of the Cretaceous, 145 million years ago. This period was characterized by a more humid and tropical climate compared to the dry, arid conditions of the Triassic. It was also warmer than the Cretaceous period, primarily due to continental drift. During the Triassic, all land masses were united into a single supercontinent called Pangaea. But by the early Jurassic, the continents had begun to separate slowly. Although they were still close together, they had split into 2 major land masses: Laurasia in the north, which included North America, Europe, and Asia; Gondwana in the south, which included South America, Africa, Australia, India, and Antarctica. Now, you might be wondering, how did continental drift cause climate change? As we mentioned earlier, the Triassic period had a dry, hot climate due to the lack of oceans between the land masses and the presence of vast deserts. But as the continents slowly drifted apart, water began to fill the spaces between them, forming more inland seas. This increased atmospheric humidity and slightly lowered temperatures compared to the Triassic. However, continental drift also triggered volcanic activity, releasing large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This led to greenhouse effects, causing a temporary rise in temperatures. To put it simply, at the beginning of the Jurassic, temperatures were lower than in the Triassic but still high compared to the late Jurassic. Over time, as volcanic activity decreased and more seas formed, temperatures gradually dropped, leading to the cooler Cretaceous period. This major climate shift resulted in heavy rainfall, which allowed giant trees to thrive and forests to spread across the planet. After the devastating Triassic extinction, life rebounded, leading to an explosion of lush greenery. Why is it called the Jurassic? In the early 19th century, French geologist Alexandre Brongniart discovered numerous fossils in the Jura Mountains, located between France and Switzerland. These fossils match the timeline of the second era of the Mesozoic, so he decided to name the period after the Jura Mountains, calling it the Jurassic Era. Of course, the most famous creatures of this period were dinosaurs, but they weren't the only ones. Alongside them, there were also crocodiles, giant fish, and plesiosaurs that dominated the seas. Additionally, there were a variety of plants and insects. Birds and mammals were also present, but they were still in their early evolutionary stages. As for pterosaurs, they were still recovering from the Triassic-Jurassic mass extinction, since their first appearance was in the late Triassic. Luckily, they survived, only to go extinct at the end of the Cretaceous due to the asteroid impact. A short and tragic story. In the Triassic period, plants were characterized by small stems and branches. Fossils of plants dating back to the Triassic period have been found, but they were all small plants. In contrast, fossils of plants from the Jurassic period, including gymnosperms, which are seed plants with exposed seeds that lack an outer covering, unlike angiosperms. This characteristic helps them reproduce through wind dispersal. Among the most important gymnosperms plants were the giant conifer trees and different types of cycads, which gave the Jurassic landscape a beautiful and stunning appearance. Flowering plants were not as widespread as in later periods, but forests covered vast areas to the extent that this era was called the Age of Cycads. These plants resembled modern palm trees and were characterized by strong wooden trunks and large sturdy leaves, with some reaching heights of up to 20 meters. Imagine the modern Amazon rainforest that fascinates everyone today. The Jurassic forests were an even more impressive version. Just as plants were large and diverse, so were the insects. Jurassic insects were relatively larger than modern insects due to the significantly higher oxygen levels in the atmosphere. During the Triassic period, atmospheric oxygen levels were about 13%, but in the Jurassic they rose to 26%, double the previous amount. The normal atmospheric oxygen level today is around 21%. This high oxygen concentration allowed dragonflies to thrive, decorating the water and trees with their delicate, colorful wings. But the insects that truly amazed me during my research were butterflies. Imagine that we have a fossil dating back to the Jurassic period that shows a butterfly with an almost identical appearance to modern ones, even in size. These were the creatures that adorned the Jurassic period. And as always, alongside the beautiful insects, there were also terrifying and predatory ones. This brings us to spiders. Although they were not dominant, they varied in size. Scientists estimated that most spiders were around 1 to 2 centimeters long, but 2 fossils of Mongolorachni suggest otherwise. These fossils show spiders exceeding 5.5 centimeters in length, making them the largest spider fossils ever discovered. Notably, only these 2 fossils have been found so far. Now, let's leave the forest for a moment and dive into the depths of the oceans to see what life was like in the mid-Atlantic. As we mentioned at the start of the episode, the Jurassic period began on a rough note, recovering from the devastating Triassic-Jurassic mass extinction. The marine ecosystem was hit the hardest by this extinction event. Nearly half of the creatures that lived during the Triassic disappeared by the start of the Jurassic. However, diversity quickly increased in some species within the first 4 million years of the period. But after about 20 million years, certain invertebrate species, dating back to ancient life eras, completely vanished. In some regions, more than 80% of mollusk species became extinct, and biodiversity in Europe declined. Scientists still debate the exact causes of these extinctions. Some believe that low oxygen levels in the oceans during the early Jurassic were to blame. They base this theory on layers of oil shale that contain organic matter, indicating oxygen depletion. By the Middle Jurassic, marine life had fully recovered, possibly due to the rise in oxygen levels that we mentioned earlier. Other scientists suggest that these species didn't actually go extinct, but simply left no fossil record, since the Jurassic seafloor wasn't ideal for fossil preservation. Another theory is that sea levels dropped in the northern continents, contributing to these extinctions. Despite all these challenges, the Jurassic period was home to some of the largest bony fish in Earth's history. It also saw the rise of fearsome marine reptiles like Plesiosaurs. Let's take a deep dive into the ocean and meet some of the most dangerous and powerful creatures of this time. One of the top marine predators was the pliosaur. Now, pliosaurs are different from plesiosaurs. Pliosaurs had larger skulls and shorter necks, making them faster than plesiosaurs, which had long necks. What made pliosaurs such dangerous predators was their powerful flippers and jaws filled with teeth. Imagine this. Pliosaur jaws had over 100 teeth of varying sizes. If we look closely at the skull structure, we see that the snout was narrow and extended with a small notch. These features allowed the pliosaur to tear through flesh easily. The teeth in the middle of the jaw were even larger, sharper, and more robust, helping it crush bones. With incredible speed and a powerful bite, pliosaurs were some of the most dominant predators of their time. Even the smaller ones were fearsome. For example, Liopleurodon was about 6 meters long. Older research suggested it could reach over 25 meters, but later studies proved those estimates were incorrect. Then there was Kronosaurus, which exceeded 10 meters in length. And the true giant among them was Pliosaurus funke, also known as Predator X. Scientists estimate that this monster grew up to 15 meters long. Although we'll meet even larger marine reptiles later, the pliosaurs were among the most dangerous creatures of the Jurassic seas. Plesiosaurs lived from the late Triassic to the late Cretaceous. They adapted significantly to the changes that occurred on the planet, even surviving the Triassic extinction. Interestingly, the plesiosaurs we talked about actually belonged to the family Plesiosauria. Let me explain further. Plesiosauria is a group of marine reptiles divided into two branches: the plesiosaurs, which had long necks and high body flexibility, and the pliosaurs, which had larger skulls. They were named Plesiosauria because they lived before the pliosaurs, and later it was discovered that the second type was closely related to them. The remarkable thing is that both groups coexisted at the same time. A prime example of this is Kronosaurus and Liopleurodon, which lived together in the Cretaceous period. Plesiosaurs mainly fed on small fish. They would swim towards schools of fish and gather their prey. Their teeth were long and slender, sharp but not solid, and their jaws were small. Because of this, their hunting strategy differed from that of the pliosaurs. However, the marine creature that truly fascinated me was Leedsichthys. This fish lived in the Middle Jurassic and was distinguished by its gigantic size. You may ask, how big was it? That depends on the fossils found. The problem is that scientists never discovered a complete fossil of Leedsichthys. They found a fossil of a giant tail and another of gill bones 3 times larger than those of the formidable tuna. When scientists studied these fossils individually, they estimated that the fish could have reached the size of a blue whale. But paleontologist Jeff Liston disagreed, stating that studying separate fossils of an extinct creature could lead to overestimations of its size. So, when he combined the fossils and analyzed them collectively, considering the different ages of the specimens and comparing them to modern relatives, he estimated the fish's length to be between 7 to 17 meters, with a possible weight exceeding 40 tons. This is because Leedsichthys was a bony fish, not cartilaginous. At this size, Leedsichthys became the largest marine creature of its time. However, fossil evidence of predator attacks on it led scientists to conclude that its lifestyle was similar to that of the whale shark, or blue whale. Since it was slow-moving, it could not chase fast prey. Additionally, its wide jaw made it easy to feed on plankton and small fish through filter feeding. What's surprising is that before the discovery of Leedsichthys, no large filter-feeding organism had been known to exist at such a size. This represented a major shift in the ecosystem, though the reason for this change remains unknown. Despite its massive size, it was not the most dangerous creature in the seas. Marine reptilian predators saw it as an ideal prey. The early ichthyosaurs were not as massive as they would later become, but they adapted well to the environment of their time. Among the marine reptiles whose fossils were found in Iraq is the genus Ichthyosaurus. Some might think it was a type of fish, but in reality it was closely related to lizards and snakes, though it was not a dinosaur. Scientists now believe it was a fast-moving creature with powerful jaws, reaching about 3 meters in length. It had large eyes that provided a wide field of vision, allowing it to survive throughout the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods. Now, we will leave the oceans and return to the forest to see how the most powerful creatures of the Jurassic lived. In the early Jurassic, dinosaurs had peculiar appearances because this was their true emergence. Here are some examples of early dinosaurs. Scutellosaurus, a small herbivorous dinosaur. Its name means little armored lizard because it was indeed small, measuring no more than 120 centimeters in length. Massospondylus, a facultative bipedal dinosaur that could walk on both 2 legs and all 4s. Its name means massive vertebrae, yet despite this, it was not very large. Dilophosaurus, a carnivorous dinosaur that walked only on its hind legs. Its body length was not very large, but at 6 meters it was a significant predator for its time. Some people recognize it as the spitting dinosaur from movies like Jurassic Park, but in reality it did not secrete venom. The list of early Jurassic dinosaurs is long, but what I want to emphasize is that at the beginning of the period, there was a transition between the mammal-like reptiles of the Triassic and the rise of true dinosaurs. If we observe carefully, we can see that early dinosaurs shared traits, such as relatively small size and influences from the mammal-like reptiles that walked on all 4s, though some eventually adopted bipedal locomotion. Dinosaurs divided into 2 main groups: Saurischia, which included sauropods and theropods, and Ornithischians, which included herbivorous and feathered dinosaurs. The Saurischia became the most recognizable dinosaurs due to their widespread presence, with fossils found on every continent, including Antarctica. This group included the largest dinosaurs of its time, such as Brachiosaurus, famously depicted in Jurassic Park. It stood 16 meters tall, reached a length of 26 meters, and weighed over 75 tons. Other notable sauropods included Diplodocus, which was actually longer than Brachiosaurus but not as tall, and Giraffatitan, whose name translates to giant giraffe. These creatures thrived in the Jurassic due to the abundance of large plants that provided them with sustenance. Most of the large sauropods emerged in the mid to late Jurassic. However, during this time, they faced new threats from true Jurassic predators. Allosaurus moving stealthily between the giant trees, its eyes locked onto its target. The theropod was a medium size, but its bulk was massive for a carnivorous, weighing around 2 tons and stretching over 10 meters in length. However, despite its size, it could reach speeds of up to 33 kilometers per hour, thanks to its balanced body that allowed it to make sudden turns while chasing the prey. Then, the Allosaurus launched its attack on the sauropod. Despite the significant size difference between them, the Allosaurus had the advantage of speed. Using its sharp claws and flexible body, it delivered continuous, precise strikes to its prey, gradually causing severe bleeding. Eventually, the sauropod lost hope and succumbed due to excessive blood loss. The skull of the Allosaurus was distinctive, large and protected by ridges above its eyes. Initially, scientists believed it had an extremely strong bite force because its teeth were large and curved. However, later research revealed that its bite force was relatively weak, comparable to that of modern big cats. For a dinosaur of its size, this was considered a disadvantage. Despite its weaker bite, numerous fossil remains of herbivorous dinosaurs, including sauropods and various ornithischians, show signs of Allosaurus attacks, confirming its predatory success. The Allosaurus relied on 3 key factors for hunting: speed, flexibility, powerful claws. These traits allowed it to approach prey quickly, deliver multiple slashes, and cause continuous bleeding, which would eventually kill its victim. Another strategy Allosaurus used was its wide jaw gape. When it opened its mouth to its maximum extent and closed it rapidly, it inflicted severe wounds on its prey. These types of predators spread widely during the Jurassic period. For example, in Europe, there were Ceratosaurus, Metriacanthosaurus, and Dubreuillosaurus. In North America, there were Saurophaganax and Torvosaurus. In Asia, there was Yangchuanosaurus. And in Antarctica, there was Cryolophosaurus, which, interestingly, appeared in the early Jurassic, making it one of the oldest discovered predatory dinosaurs. It wasn't small either, reaching a length of 8 meters. With all these difficult names, you should definitely leave a like. The top-tier predators included Saurophaganax and Torvosaurus. Some of these dinosaurs were previously discussed on the channel, but one I've never talked about before is Torvosaurus, despite it being a very unique dinosaur. Scientists spent years searching for fossils of this dinosaur, but unfortunately, no complete specimen has been found. This has led to uncertainty about its exact size. Some scientists believe it was larger than Allosaurus, while others think it was similar in size but slightly smaller. Based on the discovered remains, it was named the savage lizard. So, if someone asks, what was the strongest predatory dinosaur of the Jurassic period? The answer would be Allosaurus, Torvosaurus, or Saurophaganax. However, scientists lean toward Allosaurus because of its abundant fossils. It's enough to say that it hunted Stegosaurus, one of the most powerful ornithischians of the Jurassic period. Interestingly, early ornithischians originally walked on their hind limbs like predators. But as the Jurassic period progressed, quadrupedal dinosaurs and armored dinosaurs became more diverse. The emergence of bony plates, horns, and spikes in various ornithischians demonstrates how dangerous the Jurassic period was for them, as predatory dinosaurs evolved significantly. Without these defensive features, it would have been difficult for them to survive. Take Stegosaurus, for example. It had 2 essential adaptations: bony plates on its back, spiked tail. These features played a huge role in protecting its spinal cord. Additionally, scientists found that the back plates contained numerous blood vessels, suggesting that Stegosaurus used them to regulate its body temperature. Now, here's an interesting fact. Every discovered Stegosaurus fossil has a unique plate shape and arrangement, almost like a fingerprint. This really shows how fascinating paleontology is. Despite its large size, Stegosaurus was not the only armored dinosaur. Some early armored dinosaurs appeared in the early Jurassic. Although they were smaller, they are considered the ancestors of Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. Speaking of Ankylosaurus, it actually shared several similarities with Stegosaurus, including body shape, diet, teeth structure, protective armor, and a powerful tail. It's common for dinosaur ancestors to be smaller than their descendants. One of the best examples is Guanlong, a small 3-meter-long dinosaur from China that is considered one of the earliest members of the Tyrannosaur family. The same family as Tyrannosaurus rex. Imagine that such a small dinosaur eventually led to the mighty T-Rex, which dominated the Cretaceous period. Now let's quickly summarize dinosaurs in the early Jurassic. Dinosaurs were still recovering from the Triassic Extinction. Most dinosaurs were small in size. Armored dinosaurs appeared for the first time. Ornithischians that walked on all fours started to emerge. Large sauropods like Volcanodon, 6.5 meters long, were just starting to develop. However, by the Middle Jurassic, dinosaurs had diversified significantly. Sauropods reached gigantic sizes. Predatory dinosaurs spread across all continents. Herbivorous dinosaurs adapted with stronger armor. Some of the most famous dinosaurs from this period include Allosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Stegosaurus, Dilophosaurus. Now, let's move on to the dominance of flying reptiles and the evolution of early mammals during the Jurassic period. One of the most important questions regarding mammals that lived alongside dinosaurs is, when did they first appear? The earliest mammal fossils date back to the late Triassic. However, these mammals were extremely small, literally tiny. For example, Attalobasileus, one of the earliest true mammals, had a body no longer than 2 centimeters. That's smaller than some of the giant spiders we talked about earlier. These early mammals resembled modern rodents in their behavior. The true rise of mammals happened in the Middle Jurassic, when placental mammals began to appear. In August 2011, fossils of the mammal Juramaya were discovered in China. These fossils revealed the spine, arm bones, and teeth, confirming that it was a placental mammal, the closest type of mammal to modern species. Moreover, it was larger than mammals from the Triassic period, with a body length reaching 10 centimeters. This suggests that mammals at this time were larger than their Triassic ancestors, but still quite small. In an environment dominated by giant reptiles, mammals had no choice but to survive by feeding on plants and insects. They maintained this lifestyle throughout the reign of the dinosaurs. As a result, when dinosaurs went extinct, mammalian jaws and body sizes evolved to adapt to the new environment. It wasn't just mammals that lived in the shadows of reptiles, birds did too. A key question is, when did birds first appear? One of the earliest known birds is Archaeopteryx. But in reality, it wasn't exactly like modern birds. Archaeopteryx had feathers on its arms and tail like birds, but it also had teeth and a bony tail, which set it apart from today's birds. Due to these characteristics, scientists classify it as a dinosaur closely related to birds, making it a transitional link between reptiles and birds. It's important to understand the connection between Archaeopteryx and reptiles. Archaeopteryx and modern birds belong to the same lineage, and they share a close relationship with Dromaeosauridae, a group of dinosaurs better known as raptors. This makes Archaeopteryx a link between raptors and birds. Furthermore, Dromaeosaurids are closely related to feathered theropods like Oviraptor, which lived in the Cretaceous period. This evolutionary chain continues until we reach the Ornithurae, the group leading to modern birds. However, whether Archaeopteryx could actually fly is still debated. Scientists suggest that it might have climbed trees using its claws and glided from branch to branch, using its feathers to slow its descent. The true flying creatures of the Jurassic, however, were the Pterosaurs. As previously mentioned, they were neither birds nor dinosaurs, but rather flying reptiles. Unlike early scientific beliefs that Jurassic pterosaurs were small, this changed in 2017 when paleontologist Natalia Jagielska discovered a pterosaur fossil in Scotland. This fossil indicated that some Jurassic pterosaurs had a wingspan of at least 2.5 meters. The current understanding is that pterosaurs had already reached large sizes by the mid-Jurassic, surpassing their Triassic ancestors. The last point we will discuss is amphibians. Salamanders and frogs began to appear in the early Jurassic period and spread widely during the Mesozoic era, diversifying in form. However, all amphibian species were limited to either frogs or salamanders. As for crocodiles, their case was a bit different. They were smaller in size compared to modern crocodiles and also had distinct foot structures. Their forelimbs were raised off the ground, which allowed them to be much faster. These early crocodiles spread across North America and North Africa. One of the most notable crocodiles of this time was Burksuchus malingrandensis, a name that might sound quite strange. Apart from this species, there was also Steniosaurus, which lived in shallow waters and closely resembled the modern gharial. The transition between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods remains a mystery to scientists. Some studies suggest that a mass extinction event occurred, possibly due to continental drift, which began in the Triassic period and continued into the Cretaceous. Other research suggests that the reason behind the extinction of various Jurassic species remains unknown. This is because while some creatures disappeared after the Jurassic period, others survived into the Cretaceous, making it difficult to draw definitive conclusions. However, what we can say for sure is that the true flourishing of ecosystems occurred during the Cretaceous period, especially for dinosaurs. If you enjoyed this episode, a like will definitely encourage me to keep going, and don't forget to subscribe to see the next prehistoric journey in pre-Earth.